Let's talk for a minute. So today we're going to wrap up our series on the ranks given out by the Kingdom of Ansteorra with the Peerages. Now, of course, Peerages are society ranks. That means that all kingdoms in the SCA, by society law, this is the awards they give at the highest level for each of their disciplines. So someone from Artemisia or Ansteorra or Outlands or Mid-Realm or Trimaris, doesn't matter where you are, all SCA players can aspire to these awards. And if you win this award in one kingdom and go to another kingdom, the rules are the same, the display is the same, the rank is the same, the prestige is the same. So these are all encompassing across the SCA. These are the terminal awards that you can receive. Understand that as they are peerage awards, they are polled orders. What that means is that the crown is required to consult with other members of that order and ask their opinions about possible candidates that they want to include. Now, does that mean that you as an individual can't recommend someone for one of these awards? No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, we've had multiple crowns in Ansteorra say they want to receive recommendations for knights, for laurels, for pelicans, for masters of defense. They want to see what people think of other people, and they will take those recommendations, those requests under advisement. And also, you will hear a lot of talk of votes. You'll hear pollings as a common phrase. You'll hear talk about candidates being, what was their polling like, which is not supposed to be talked about outside of those circles. Please understand, none of these orders are elected. There is not a vote that gets you in. The polling is the crown's way of going, what is everyone's opinion? And that vote is kind of the numbers average. He gets to say, all right, a lot of people like or a lot of people don't like. But at the end of the day, the authority to make someone appear resides singularly and only with the crown, and the only entity that can reverse that is the board of directors. So that background aside, let's go through these awards, and we'll describe the award, how it is denoted, what it means, and how you would call them. So the first, of course, the oldest peerage in the society is the Order of the Knighthood, and that is, of course, the peerage for heavy combat. And its most common display, the most visually distinct, is the white belt, an unadorned, a plain white belt worn around the hips. Matter of fact, the term white belt, that's practically its own noun. Saying a white belt means someone's a knight. Now, there's another peerage in heavy combat, and that is the Order of the Chivalry, or that rather, part of the chivalry, but that's the Order of the Master of Arms. Now, the Master of Arms is also a peer in heavy combat, and they are denoted by a baldric, a white leather belt that goes from shoulder to hip. Now, the Master at Arms and the Knight are co-equal peerages. They are both members of the Order of the Chivalry. But the difference, and there's a lot of nuance to this. I'm going to give it a very quick once-over. A knight swears fealty to the crown, the office and person of the crown of Ansteorra or whatever kingdom he's in. A Master at Arms, however, does not. They swear service to the kingdom. Now, in terms of why that is relevant and what that means to you, it's another conversation. It's not terribly important to people outside of the chivalric circle, but it's a topic we can research, and perhaps I can get someone to come do one of these videos with me that can do it justice. But how would you address someone who is a knight or a Master at Arms? Now, a knight, you would call them sir or dame. A woman has the option, of course, of going by dame. Most of the female knights I know prefer the title sir, so you, generally speaking, if it's a knight, call them sir, and if they've chosen a different title, they'll probably politely correct you and go, no, I go by this title. Now, the next peerage, of course, is the Order of the Laurel. That is the peerage for arts and sciences. Now, the laurels display, most laurels that I have seen receive the actual laurels wreath that they can wear around their head, but the actual most common item that they wear, unless it's a really formal occasion, is a medallion that has a laurels wreath on it. Again, as a peer, you would refer to them as master or mistress, traditionally. I do know a number of women who are laurels who prefer the title master if asked. Now the next peerage is for service, and that is the Order of the Pelican. Now the pelican is a very iconic display, and that is the heraldry of a heraldic pelican, which is plucking its own breast and bleeding out. It's got, the display has 2 or 3 pelican chicks at the bottom of the display, and they are feeding off of the blood. The invocation, the story, even though we know this is not true today, the story is the idea of the pelican would bleed itself to feed its young, the idea of sacrifice so others prosper. That is the invocation of the title of pelican and what we're saying in the rank for the service peerage here. And again, if someone receives the peerage, they will display a medallion very often, and there's also an ermine spot hat that they will wear, and that's a white, usually a white fur brim with black spots on it. And again, has a peer, you would refer to them as master or mistress, much like the laurel or the master at arms. Now, last but not least, the Order of Defense, and this is the rapier peerage. The display for the rapier peerage, the display for the masters and mistresses of defense, is a white mantle or collar with a medallion on it. The medallion will have 3 rapiers on it, crossed in the middle in a tri-equal display. Again, the proper styling there is Master of Defense or Mistress of Defense. It's the youngest of the peerages, so there's not as many MODs as they are called as there are knights or laurels or pelicans. But the handful of women MODs I have met tended to go by Master of Defense. At least one I know went by Mistress of Defense. So if you were to see a Master or Mistress of Defense, refer to them as Master or Mistress. And again, they would, if they're going by a different title, they would probably correct you and say, no, I go by this title. Now, a quick bit on the title, the words, Master or Mistress. The society as a whole is becoming more and more cognizant that there are different connotations to those words. There are people who very legitimately do not want to use the word master or mistress to describe themselves, and there are social possible reasons for that, there are historical possible reasons for that, there are cultural possible reasons for that, and there are personal reasons that a lot of people would rather not use those titles. So rather than go into all of the possibilities there for alternate titles, understand that it is appropriate, lacking any other information, to address someone who is a peer as, unless of course it's a knight, as master or mistress. But understand that they may very well correct you and say, actually, I go by this entirely different title that I prefer you use. Now, if you have trouble remembering that title, join the club. I have a couple of friends who use historical titles from outside the English world, and it's kind of a running joke that when I greet them, it's hug, how are you doing, how did you say your title again? We understand that it's a bit of a learning curve, and I doubt none of the peers I know would give you so much as a cross look for having asked several times what their title was if it wasn't master or mistress. But those are the peerages, and that wraps up our series on the ranks in Ansteorra. So understand that those are the ranks, those are what they mean. I'm hoping that this gives you just enough so that you're a little bit better informed the next time you go to an event or in a meeting, so that you can recognize the different ranks, different awards, what they mean, and what that says about the person who's wearing it. So, enough of all that. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me. Goodbye. God bless.